Welcome everyone to today's Explainer. I am so thrilled you're here. Today we're unpacking something, well, deeply philosophical. It's something pretty much all of us battle with in our modern, crazy, hurried lives. We're going to talk about time, but more specifically, that relentless, kinda unexamined habit of rushing. You know the feeling, right? Constantly feeling like we're behind schedule. But what's the actual cost of all that speed? So let's just take a moment, take a breath, and really reflect on this together.
Okay, let's dive into this. Running for years without knowing where he was actually trying to go. Man, that is a jarring, cold open realization right from our source text, and it hits incredibly hard, doesn't it? I mean, just imagine the sheer exhaustion of continuous movement, of literally sprinting through your days, your weeks, your years, only to suddenly realize you have absolutely no idea what your destination is.
Section 1. The symptoms of rushing. So, it starts with this inescapable, repetitive rhythm of a hurried existence. You wake up, you rush to shower, you rush to eat, you rush right out the door. It's this constant, fast-paced drumming that dictates every single action you take. You aren't just moving anymore, you're being propelled by this invisible pressure that's just screaming at you to go faster, do more, and whatever you do, don't stop.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because our source lays out these three distinct, really escalating steps. First, we're rushed to work. Then, we're rushed through conversations. And finally, we're rushed through life. Just look at that progression. It starts with a simple daily commute, right? But then it rapidly infects the very core of human connection and, well, our overall existence.
Let's deeply deconstruct that first point, the daily grind. Rushing to work. This isn't just about beating traffic or catching a train. It's about an exhausting internal cycle. You're rushing just to fulfill obligations. You're rushing to punch a clock, sit at a desk, meet some deadline. The energy you expend literally just to arrive at the starting line of your day is massive. It leaves you totally depleted before the actual work even begins.
But here is where the cost becomes truly tragic. We start sacrificing connection by rushing through conversations. Really think about that for a second. You are physically standing in front of someone, a colleague, a friend, maybe even someone you deeply love. But mentally, you're completely absent. You're just kind of nodding along, waiting for your turn to speak, or honestly worse, you're already thinking about the next task on your to-do list. Rushing steals the very human element of engaging with the actual people right in front of us.
And naturally, that leads us to the ultimate cost, rushing through life. These daily microhabits, the hurried commutes, the half-listened to conversations, they don't just happen in a vacuum. They compound. Days blur into weeks, weeks blur into years, and suddenly, you've rushed through your entire time on Earth. The symptom literally becomes the disease.
Section 2. A terrifying realization.
Every morning, woke up feeling late. Just sit with that phrase for a moment. Waking up already feeling late means you're starting every single day at a total deficit. Before your feet even hit the floor, you are already losing a race against an invisible clock. You're chasing something you can fundamentally never beat because, well, the feeling of lateness is internal. It's not actual time.
Then, the narrative gives us a profound physical action, the physical pause of looking at the watch. In a life of constant motion, looking at your watch is supposed to give you your bearings, right? It tells you the time, your schedule, your proximity to your next big commitment. But in this story, looking at the watch acts as a super powerful metaphor for that incredibly rare, shocking moment when we finally force ourselves to pause and actually check our life's progress.
And what happens in that pause? The source says he looked at his watch and realized something terrifying. Running for years without knowing where he was actually trying to go. So the crucial point is the immense terror of running blind. You see, it wasn't the time on the watch that was terrifying, it was the sudden realization that all that speed was just a cover-up for a total lack of direction.
And this brilliantly illustrates the vast difference between the illusion of movement and genuine direction. Rushing kind of makes us feel productive, doesn't it? It makes us feel important. We are expending massive amounts of energy to create motion. And let's be honest, society often applauds that motion. But as this anecdote so sharply warns us, motion absolutely does not equal meaning. Having a really busy schedule is just not the same thing as having a meaningful destination.
Section 3. Forgetting to live today.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark visual contrast. It's the central dichotomy of our source material, rushing toward tomorrow versus living today. It's a scale that is entirely out of balance for most of us.
We're so heavily invested in this imaginary future that we willingly sacrifice the only reality we actually possess, which is the present.
The source delivers this final, really poetic warning: don't spend your whole life rushing toward tomorrow and forget to live today. There's a deeply tragic irony here, guys. We spend all of our physical and emotional energy preparing for, rushing toward a tomorrow that by definition never actually arrives. Because think about it, when tomorrow finally gets here, it's just another today, and we immediately start rushing toward the next tomorrow. It's a trap.
And that right there is the ultimate tragedy of sacrificing the present moment. Think back to what we've covered in this explainer today: the exhausting symptoms of rushing to work, the disconnection of rushing through your conversations, that terrifying realization of waking up feeling late, looking at your watch, and realizing you've been running blind for years. All of these things ultimately lead to the exact same profound loss: the loss of today, the loss of your actual living, breathing life. So, I want to leave you with a final thought directly inspired by our text. If you are running right now, where are you actually trying to go?